Hello, everybody, and welcome into the HCAM studios. Well, we were going to have a Board of Assessors debate, but unfortunately, one of the candidates could not make it tonight. So we do have one candidate with us. We have Peter Mimo, who is a Board of Assessors candidate. So since we can't have a debate, we'll allow Mr. Mimo to make a statement if he wishes.
And thank you for that opportunity, Tom. I appreciate that. And thank you to HCAM for holding this event. My name is Peter Mimo. I am a candidate for re-election to our Board of Assessors. First elected in May of 2022, and I was very proud to be elected at that point. And I'm excited about the opportunity, hopefully, of being re-elected and earning your vote on May the 19th. A little bit about me and what the board does. I'm a lifelong resident of Massachusetts, and my family and I moved here in 2015. We moved here for the schools. My oldest son is a graduate of Hopkinton High School. He's going to be graduating from college pretty soon, so it served him well. And my youngest son is also a sophomore in the high school. I've been an attorney now. I've been serving for the Commonwealth for virtually my entire career. My work is I'm an attorney, and I work to enforce our state's civil rights laws and enforce those laws. But what am I here for tonight? I'm here to talk about Board of Assessors. And one of the questions that seems to be posed every now and then is, gosh, what is the Board of Assessors and what is it that we do? Well, I'll say very simply, what we do is we provide oversight to our professionals working in town hall who actually assess our property values. And what we do is we consider applications by taxpayers who are seeking to have abatements or tax abatements, breaks on their taxes if they think that their taxes or their property taxes have been overassessed or overvalued or disproportionately valued by the board. We also grant exemptions. So for our veterans or for our seniors who seek veterans statutory exemptions to their taxes, they get a break on their taxes. And we also provide data and analysis to the select board to help them set the town's annual tax rate. One of the more important functions that we have on the Board of Assessors is that we have taxpayers who come in who have applications for abatements and for exemptions, and we hear what they have to say. And one of the things I take great pride in is that I want to make sure that every taxpayer who comes to us and engages the Board of Assessors, that they are heard, that their applications are heard, and that they leave here not feeling they were talked down to, condescended to, but they are actually heard, and that we have an engaged, interactive dialogue with the Board of Assessors, and that we actually come to a reasonable assessment. I was very proud of the last special town meeting to stand before this town meeting and propose that the town adopt the provisions of the HERO Act that expanded the tax exemptions for our veterans. What it did is it increased the amount that was available in tax exemptions for our veterans. It increased it and also tied it to a cost of living index as well. As the assessors, we proposed at the town meeting, and it passed unanimously. I campaigned in 2022 on basically a campaign of helping out seniors and helping out our veterans. I would suggest to you that's one example of how we helped out veterans. In terms of seniors, in 2023 on the Board of Assessors, we had an opportunity, a unique opportunity, to lower the eligibility for a particular senior tax exemption. Where the eligibility age was 70 years old, we had the discretion as a board to lower it to 65, and we did it. We did exactly that. We're helping out the seniors where we can, helping out our veterans where they deserve it. I think that's more or less what I have to offer for you this evening in terms of I was very proud to be elected in 2022. I hope that I earn your vote on May the 19th. And if nothing else, for all those who are listening and watching tonight, please come out and vote on May the 19th. We are a stronger community when we vote. We have higher levels of people who come out and show that they care. It means that we're a stronger community for it. Please come out and vote. And while you're at it, consider voting for me. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much to Peter Mimo for making that statement tonight, and we would like to extend an invite to his opponent as well, Frederick Mayer. If you'd like to make a statement, we will certainly accommodate that. But that will be it for our Board of Assessors coverage tonight. Don't forget, we have the Select Board debate, and those candidates are here, so that debate will be on as planned at 7 p.m. right here live on HCAM. But for our crew, our great HCAM crew, I'm Tom Nappy. Take care, be well, and we'll talk to you for the Select Board debate at 7 p.m. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the HCAM 2025 Contested Races Candidates Debates. I'm HCAM News Director Tom Nappy, and I will be the moderator for tonight's debate. This evening, we will hear from 3 candidates running for the 2 open 3-year Select Board seats. Our panelists this evening include myself, HCAM News Director Tom Nappy. The candidates for the 2 open Select Board seats include candidate for re-election, Shadul Manning, and 2 new candidates, Matthew Kisner and Jeffrey Doyle. Our format for these debates is simple. I will ask each candidate questions, and they will have up to 1 minute to respond. If you hear the bell, you have 10 seconds remaining. If a candidate has a follow-up response to another candidate, they could state they would like to make an additional comment. The moderator will cue them, and the candidate will have 30 seconds for the comment. The panelist, me, may ask a follow-up question, and the candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond. Following the question and answers, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes each for a closing statement. So there's the rules. Let's get started. All right, the first question is for Matt. Matt, what inspired you to run, and what experience and qualifications will you bring to the board if elected?
Thank you so much. Let me start by thanking HCAM for hosting this and for all of you for tuning in. What inspired me to run? Folks, like most good things in life, my story starts and continues in Massachusetts, and it's my love of this state and this town that brought me into community service as soon as I moved here. And I've been in your community service working for this town for almost a decade now in positions of increasing responsibility, starting on the zoning advisory committee. If you've never held up a light meter in the parking lot of the Price Chopper to make sure the lights aren't bright enough, get involved. It's a lot of fun, even if it's cold out. I then moved into capital improvements, where I think some of you probably know me from, and I've been the longtime chair of that committee for the last 4 years. Or perhaps you've seen me at town meeting, where I like to think I am a voice of fiscal conservatism and unique ideas. Why am I looking to run now? I see such an opportunity for the town with the major decisions ahead of it. Significant infrastructure issues with the quality and abundance of our water, cost of living expenses, and finding a way to maintain the excellent services and schools that make this not just one of the best places to live in this state, but in this country. That's why I serve this community, and that's why I'm aspiring to this position. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Jeff, same question. What inspired you to run, and what experience and qualifications will you bring to the board if elected?
Great. Thank you, HCAM, for putting this on. What inspired me to run was last year there was a much more contested debate, right? There was a lot of challenges in town with people not feeling that their voices were being heard. Over the past year, it seemed like a lot of people have liked the direction that town was going, and the select board was listening to what they were saying. And my goal is to continue on that path to make sure that town feels like they're being heard. My qualifications are mainly built around growing up in this town, experiencing our schools and the value that they can bring to your life and what they've provided for me, going through our youth sports programs, and getting to experience all that we have to offer. Big challenges for me moving forward, similar concept around, right, fiscal conservative approach. We've got to address our challenges with water, understanding that our debt levels are very high, and making sure that we keep an eye on what is necessary for the town to make sure that we can keep it as great as it is right now and make people want to stay here.
All right, thank you. Shahidul, same question. What inspired you to run, and what experience and qualifications will you bring to the board if elected?
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I'm grateful to here again with you all tonight. So when I first ran for the Select Board, it was because I believed deeply in service, smart planning, and the power of community. 3 years later, that belief is even stronger because I've seen what we can achieve together. And if you go back further, more than 10 years ago, when I came to this town, right after 6 months or so, I joined the Appropriations Committee because I wanted to give back. And I saw a burgeoning town, growing town with excellent schools, which attracted me. I wanted to make sure not only I take advantage of that, but I also contribute to keeping that excellence going forward. I still believe in that. And even in 3 years, though I can list a few of the accomplishments, achievements that we have done together. It's a board of 5 and a great administration and every other committee, everyone collaborating and working together. I also see many challenges ahead. I see the fiscal discipline becoming more and more critical. I see our senior citizens growing faster than before, and I see our pressure with the managing growth and all the fiscal and budgetary disciplines. So I bring to the table my more than 10 years of service, my professional experience as a leader in data and innovation, and I think I'm very data-driven and strategic mindset-driven, but I also listen, I also ask questions, and I value collaboration over politics, and that's what I want to contribute.
Thank you. All right, next question. We'll have Jeff start with this one, Mr. Doyle. In your own words, can you please explain the role of what the Select Board does and its role in town government?
The role of the select board is to carry out the will of the town and what the town decides on in town meeting, right? There's a heavy focus on listening to what's been addressed and what the town needs, and then going out and acting on what the town has voted on. So that's my focus, is listen to the town, listen to what the people of the town are looking for, and deliver on those asks.
Okay. Shahidul, same question.
Sure.
In your own words, please explain the role of what the Select Board does and its role in town government.
Excellent question. So Select Board is a very unique model in the Commonwealth, in our towns. And if you look at some of the other bigger or standard towns, there's a mayor and there's a city council. But in our towns, Select Board performs both. So it's not only strategic leadership and policymaking and governing body oversight, it also drives execution through oversight. And the other part to also remember is that Select Board actually does a lot in terms of the logistics as well as managing some of the permissioning, like the liquor license to parade license or parade permission. All those are also important because it adds to the town's character and it adds to the quality of life of the people and the residents. So from that end, our charter actually mentions that Select Board acts as a CEO of the town. It's a combination of strategic as well as execution responsibilities.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kisner, same question. In your own words, can you please explain the role of what the Select Board does and its role in town government?
We're going to get this right the third time for you, folks. So the Select Board represents really the executive function that the citizens elect in the town. In the community of Hopkinton, the town manager reports to the Select Board for the purposes of oversight, and departments under the Select Board at Town Hall, under the town manager would therefore report into the Select Board as well. A few departments would be out of scope there. So schools is an interesting example, parks and rec as well. So they're part of the town budget, but they're not necessarily beholden to the executive function quite the same way some of the other departments are. I think that's an important nuance. As Shahidul mentioned, there's obviously an arm of policymaking, permitting, decisions, and setting the overall strategic and philosophical vision for how the town is going to pursue given functions. Select Board also plays a key role in actually forming and approving the warrant, which is what drives the articles that we vote on in town meeting. As Shahidul mentioned, we are a town meeting form of government where our laws are ultimately going to be voted on by you, the people. It is one of the purest forms of democracy. Come get engaged. You're going to like it.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving along to the next question. Mr. Mannon, you will answer this one first. What do you feel are the biggest issues or challenges facing the town in the coming year? And if elected, what are your top priorities?
Great question. So I think the biggest one I just referred to a little bit is going to be our managing the budget with all the growth that we have and managing the tax base under control. Because of the growing needs as well as the rising debt service that we are going to see with all the debts that we already have. So managing that is a complex matter. And in the past 10 years or so, I've been very close to the budget, and I've been working with the appropriations and now from the Select Board very closely to manage and provide a balanced budget without any override and actually a couple of underrides. And even this year, after having our very much needed school capital debt from last year, this year we went further into fiscal discipline and having zero debt addition. So that type of discipline and I think fiscal responsibility and fiscal oversight is what I bring to the table, and that's what I see as the biggest challenge that we need to manage and be very cognizant and very close to while serving as a select board in the coming years.
Thank you. Mr. Kisner, same question. What do you feel are the biggest issues or challenges facing the town in the coming year? And if elected, what are your top priorities?
Certainly. So first and foremost, I think you always want to have your ear to the ground about the community. You've heard me talk a few times about the purpose of Select Board really being a conduit of Hopkinton and what issues the town is talking about. I don't know what you're discussing around your kitchen table, but right now around mine, we are concerned about the quality of water in town, the availability of water in town. We're concerned about the property taxes. 85% of our town's operating budget comes from our property taxes. It's more than $100 million, folks. I don't know about you, but we can only afford that tax and spend growth for so long before we need to find a new way to grow revenue in town. And I know that because people are coming and telling me that we are pricing them out of this community. And in some cases, these are the very people who helped build the town into the state that it is in today. So finding a way to make this a place that can grow but be affordable and sustainable for all generations of the community, and not just one where you tax and spend and we thank you once your kids graduate and we ask you to leave and make room for somebody else. That's not the community fabric I envision. I ultimately see significant challenges with capital expenditures and growth, much as Shahadul noted. I think that's why my significant experience on the Capital Improvement Committee and my understanding of the financial nuances in our town will bring significant benefit to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle, same question. What do you feel are the biggest issues or challenges facing the town in the coming year? And if elected, what are your top priorities?
Great. Yeah, a lot of similar trends here, but number one priority is figuring out water, right? Quality and quantity, making sure that we have enough and it's suitable for drinking is most important in my mind, and it's from the people that have been reaching out to me about running, what they've been listing as top of their mind as well. Also focused on financial discipline, making sure that we are being responsible and trying to keep our taxes as low as possible so that people aren't being forced to move out of town. Similar approach on that vein with financial challenges facing seniors, where I think we've already taken a step in the right direction to address that. Need to attract more businesses to town, which we'll be talking more about in a couple of days. And then one that didn't get put up yet was traffic. I would like to talk with some of the experts in town to see if there's something we can do. I don't have a solution to it yet, but I would like to work with our town to see if there is something that we can do to address that.
All right. Mr. Kisner, I have a follow-up. You mentioned water quality. How would the Select Board plan to trying to better the quality of water in town?
So I don't think the Select Board plays a role in directly bettering the quality of water in town. Like any leader, you empower the individuals and experts, and in this case, there are numerous boards that are tasked with going after this. I believe it's the Water and Sewer Enterprise Task Force, because someone will correct me on the name of it. But we have a board that's been empowered by the Select Board that is specifically looking into this issue, continuing to provide them resources, getting feedback from them. What's the guidance that they're looking for, the top-level decision-making and leadership signal, the support that they need, the obstacles that they're facing. That's the way in which I think the Select Board can signal their support and their influence over the water quality. It's the power of the pulpit. The things that they talk about, the things they choose to put on the agenda and focus their time and attention on becomes the things that inherently the town is focused on. So no, Matt Kisner cannot be a filter for your water, but yes, the Select Board can help focus and empower those who are tasked with doing so on your behalf. That's what leadership is, folks.
All right. And Mr. Doyle, you mentioned water quality as well. Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I was at the Select Board meeting when, I also don't remember the exact name of the group, but when they presented on it, right, there's two options. There's MWRA and there's figuring out filtration systems in town. We need to work with the experts to identify what is going to be an appropriate cost-effective solution that's going to be the best for the long term. And we need to work with our experts to address that. So that would be my focus, is listening, analyzing the data, and helping the team make the right decision.
All right, terrific. And absolutely.
So as you may have known or seen, I have been an advocate for clean water since I took office the first time, and I listened to the residents and also found out that PFAS is a real issue. We had to solve the problem for well 6, spending millions, but it worked out, and we have the safe water now. But as we look at the horizon, as my colleagues also mentioned, as I saw the problem with my colleagues, I advocated and formed this advisory board. And the goal is Select Board has so many issues at hand. We need a focus group of people who can provide that expertise and thought leadership as to how to solve it for long term. And that's what the board is, or the advisory board is now assigned to. And at the same time, we are looking at the MWRA solution as well. There's design going on, and we are trying to negotiate with our neighboring cities. So there's a multi-pronged approach to it. It is a long-term problem, but we have to solve it. Clean water is a human right, and I'm a big proponent of it, and that's what I've been working on and will be working towards.
All right, terrific. And Mr. Mannon, you also mentioned that it's important to manage debt services. Could you expand a little on that and perhaps talk about some of the things that the Select Board did to manage the debt services while you were in your first term?
Sure, thank you. So it is a complex challenge. I don't know how much I can explain within such a short time. But as we have seen the growth, of course, our services have grown. School needs more capacity, and we are seeing more and more people in the town because it's a great town and it's attracting everyone. But our revenue scale is limited with the 2.5% levy limit. So we are always going to be challenged how to keep it up, managing the services, maintaining all of those, while we are managing this growth and the service and the quality. And to give you one example, when we have a new family coming in with 2 kids, each kid almost costs $15,000 to $16,000 at school. So we are talking about $32,000. But the maximum tax we probably gonna get is probably $12,000. So there's your gap as it builds out. And the solution is also complex. I think one of the things I'm proposing and have been advocating with my colleagues is we need to also find additional revenue source, and that's where economic development comes in. Right now, only almost 81+% of our tax base comes from residents, and we need to do more on the economic development. And this advisory board is going to focus on building that. And I was the first one to also advocate and get some grant and set up the economic development office along with Sustainable Green and Equity Office. That type of focus is what we need to do strategically long term to get more revenue to balance the budget.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
If I can. We're in my wheelhouse. I love this stuff. As your long-term chair of the Capital Improvements Committee, digging into the nuances of the budget is exactly what I've been doing. Finding creative opportunities and looking to implement tools to facilitate our long-term strategic planning is exactly what I've had our committee working on this year. Finding ways to help the department heads actually prospectively plan so that we aren't surprised at town meeting or during the budget process every year. We recognize this is complex, but just like around your kitchen table, you don't plan for the 2-week vacation in Europe a week before you go. You start a few months or maybe a few years because you have to plan and save for the things that you want. It works the exact same way in a town, and that's why some of these long-range planning tools we're developing are so important. I think it's also important to note, Vice Chairman Ahn noted that this year has been debt-free in terms of what the budget will look like. I'm going to use a fancy word here, non-recurring revenue sources. Boy, is that nerd talk for. We found a lot of money this year that we don't expect to find again next year. It may not be as easy to balance the budget as it was this time. That's exactly why we want to maintain some fiscal discipline in years like this where we don't have big ticket items. You save for a rainy day in town, just like you do as a family. That's the sort of guidance and message I plan to bring to the board on your behalf.
All right, thank you. I think we're ready for the next question. All right. Is there any particular article at the upcoming annual town meeting or a town election ballot question that you feel exceptionally strongly about? And if so, what article, question, or topic and why? Pick just one article, ballot question, or topic, please. And we'll start with Mr. Kisner for this one.
Oh, love this. So easy. Article 14, pay-as-you-go expenses. It is the emergency radio communications system that Megan Desad, our communications director, has been requesting for a number of years. Folks, you may or may not know this, and it brings me no joy to tell you this, but your chief of police and chief of fire have both testified before our committee that there are portions of town that the dispatch radio does not work in anymore. Officers or emergency responders may need to pull out a cell phone to try and call for help and support when you or your loved one are in a time of need. That doesn't sound like the high-quality services that we have come to inspect in this town, does it? I don't think it does. To me, I want to live in a community that puts pride and value on the safety of its citizens. That's why I'm so passionate about this one. We've been pushing for it for a number of years. We've hit a break point where the system is no longer capable of being maintained. We, in some cases, cannot find the parts to continue to make repairs. I hope you hear this as we're already running it with paper clips and we no longer know where to find the paper clips. This is the article I'm most passionate about because it most directly ties to your safety. I hope you're passionate about it now, too.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle, same question. Is there any article at the upcoming annual town meeting or town election ballot question that you feel exceptionally strongly about? And if so, what article, question, or topic and why? Pick just one article, ballot question, or topic, please.
Article 24, the adaptive playground at Marathon Elementary. Growing up in town, I spent a lot of time at playgrounds, spent a lot of time with the community at playgrounds, making friends. I thought it was very good for fostering the community that we want to live in, where people want to interact with each other and get out of the house. So that's most important to me. I'll put a second plug for Article 21 as moving forward with the water plan, but 24 would be my number one choice.
Okay. Mr. Manon, same question. Is there any particular article at the upcoming annual town meeting or a town election ballot question that you feel exceptionally strongly about? And if so, what article, question, or topic and why? Pick just one article, ballot question, or topic, please.
Sure, yeah, I think it's a balanced approach, and both that my colleagues here put out is also what I supported when I discussed it at length in the Select Board. But the other two, or maybe one I would pick, is, again, to support the economic development, we need the excise tax allocation to the account and set up the account for economic development related activities. That one is certainly my favorite because of the future and strategic view of it. We already approved the tax last special town meeting, but this is more to allocate it. So the $100,000 we are going to garner can help set up the office stronger and support the activities. And the other one will be the center school, which is long due, and I've been supportive of all of these. And if I may just add that all the warrants that we have, many of those are from the Select Board, and that is the part of the job of the Select Board. We don't look at one or two. We look at all the balanced things that we need to do for the town, and that's how I also try to approach and bring my mind to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next question, and we'll have Mr. Doyle answer first. As a member of the Select Board, you are responsible to consult with the town manager and the town manager's staff for issuing a budget policy statement that establishes the general guidelines for the town budget each year. Please describe what you believe should be considered most when making this recommendation.
I think as we look at what was decided on this year was to try to remain as flat as possible, focus on the needs, and account for growth with inflation to make sure that people are taken care of appropriately across the different departments in town. I think when we look at it, when I was trying to do as much research as possible over the past couple of months on municipal finance, I have a corporate finance background. That's what I studied at Bentley. But I took the time to reach out to Ben Sweeney, who used to work in the town finance department, to pick his brain a little bit. And after doing quite a bit of it, we were able to understand, right, we've got Brian Herr, who has a lot of experience in this department. We have Elaine, who has a significant amount of experience in this department. And we have Kyla LaPierre, who are all great leaders in this space. And I think we've done a great job this year, and I hope we can continue doing that moving forward.
Okay. Mr. Manon, same question. As a member of the Select Board, you're responsible to consult with the town manager and his staff and their staff for issuing a budget policy statement that establishes the general guidelines for the town budget each year. Please describe what you believe should be considered most when making this recommendation.
Sure. I think doing it for more than 10 years now, two things that always is at the top of my list. One is no override, and within the levy limit, no new taxes. And second is making sure we level our services. no compromise on our quality of services for the town. And it's a complex equation, so then it goes into more details. So a big part of it is also risk management. So we have our AAA rating. We get better rates when we go out and have a brand for the town. And that also means establishing our stabilization funds properly. And one data I can share is that before I joined the board, I've been a big advocate of saving for the rainy days. And before I joined, our allocation was $200K to the stabilization fund. And after I escalated it, we moved it up to $875K for the last 3 years, north of $700K. And we have done that same with OPEB fund, which is another risk management. We used to fall pretty far behind on our OPEB obligations. OPEB is basically our benefits fund for the town employees, which is mandated to be covered. So all these are adding to our overall fiscal health. And I think that is very critical along the details when we also put out this policy statement.
Thank you. Mr. Kisner, same question. As a member of the select board, you're responsible to consult with the town manager and the staff for issuing a budget policy statement that establishes the general guidelines for the town budget each year. Please describe what you believe should be considered most when making this recommendation.
Sure, thank you so much for the question. I love that we're getting into the details here. I, too, had an opportunity to do some research on this year as the chair of the Capital Improvements Committee and a member of the Town Select Budget Advisory Committee. In fact, I actually gave testimony and input at the Select Board Budget Development Committee hearing. To say I've been involved and I have an understanding would be both an understatement and a true statement, and I like both of those things. In terms of considerations, folks, it needs to be simple and accessible. You've already heard both of my colleagues up here mention the things I'd want to talk to you about. Level services, never having a compromise on the great things that make our town worth living in, the schools, the emergency services, et cetera. Really just making sure that things match our vision as well. Whenever we're lost, I like to come back to the green sustainability vision of the town. How are we thinking about growth and development, but how are we making sure that that stays true to our values? Making sure that that's reflected in our actual budgetary documents and that the policy continues to emphasize the need not just to save for a rainy day, but to make sure that we no longer need to look for rainy days because we have discovered the discipline to weather all storms.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next question. Do you participate in community events, and do you feel it is important for a member of the select board to partake in community events? Mr. Manon, you can answer first.
Sure, yeah, that's my favorite part of the job, to be honest. So I participate as much, if not all. It's never all, because we are such a vibrant, active community. But I love it, and I participate, and I also think that it, not only I enjoy it because of the events that we have throughout the town, but it gives an opportunity to be the face of the leadership and also engage in the conversation, hear the pulse of the town, hear from the residents, hear their concerns, and understand it firsthand. So I engage from scout troops to sustainable greens activities, to our farmers market, to anything and everything. Whenever I see the opportunity, I try to engage myself. And the other thing is I also feel that this is another way how our town is different and unique from others. We have so many variety of events and so many charity as well as volunteer organizations so active that brings a tremendous character to our town. So kudos to all the volunteers, and I really appreciate all the hard work they put in and gives us an opportunity to engage with each other.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kisner, do you participate in community activities or events, and do you feel it is important for a member of the select board to partake in community events?
Unless they start paying me for CIC, I think I'm already participating pretty heavily in community events. So, yeah, this is something I absolutely enjoy. If you don't want to interact with the people that you see in town and to have a conversation about the community you're in the wrong line of business if you're up here next to me. Getting to talk to somebody in the line at the shop, seeing somebody picking up pizzas, hi Joe, earlier on today, that's the part that makes this job not just fun, but it makes the community worth being in. You want this to be a place where you know your neighbors and your neighbors know you, that they stop and say hello to you. I also think it's important to emphasize that there's more to being a visible member of the select board or just town government than going to town events. You live in this town 365 days a year, and I try to make sure that I am present and available in this town 365 days a year. Folks, if you've ever run into me, you've seen me anywhere, I love to talk. You're never going to upset me if you come up and you ask me a question. I take your engagement as a sign of great faith. Together, we can always find a way to do something better. That's what I believe. That's how I approach things.
Okay. Mr. Doyle, do you participate in community events, and do you feel it is important for a member of the Select Board to partake in community events?
Yes, absolutely, it's important. I started attending community events in town in either 1991 or 1992. I'm not sure when I was taken out of the house to start doing it, but it's been something I've done my entire life. I think it's really important because I think it helps establish the pride of the people in town. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day at Start Line, and they were saying they moved to town because they felt like there was a large sense of pride that people had coming from Hopkinton because of the amount of effort they put in to be a part of the community. So yes, I think it's very important. It's something I've been doing for 30 years with a brief hiatus when I moved out of town to take a little bit of time in the city, but it's great to be back and look forward to doing it more.
Terrific. All right, moving on to the next question. In Article 37 of this year's upcoming town meeting, the proposal gives Select Board control of the Center School building to be used for, as quoted in the article, quote, advancement of community and/or cultural enrichment activities, programs, and other opportunities, unquote. What are your thoughts on this, and what is your vision for the use of the Center School? Mr. Kisner, you could start.
Oh, I'm so excited about this one. This is one of my favorite projects that's going on in town right now because it's a perfect marriage of the community wanting to preserve some of that character and the fabric of its history with looking to develop and find new ways to leverage the assets and character of the town. I can't tell you how excited I am about us potentially having something on the common that has, yes, a little bit of parking to make it more accessible for some of the businesses in our beautiful common downtown, but another thing to draw people into our community, another place where our kids can go. I get so excited hearing some of the Select Board. I know Joe Clark was talking about this on Wednesday at Know Your Vote, the notion of this actually being a space where we can have an arts program, a nonprofit arts program that supports the town. Does that sound like the sort of thing that reflects the values of Hopkinton? Because I know it certainly does when I think about what I believe that those values are and what you tell me that they are. So I see this as one of those really smart decisions that has the potential to be a community amplifier. What else can we do there? Is it ceramics on the common? Is it potlucks? I don't know what it is, but I know having that space there, having that dedicated community environment and giving people the chance to branch out and continue to personalize it, boy, I'm excited just thinking about the potential of what that could mean for our community. I hope you are too.
All right. Mr. Doyle, what are your thoughts on the use of the Center School? And if you need me to read the whole question over, I could do that too.
I'll run with it. I think we got a good gist for it. I'm very excited that the town kept control of that land. I think it's a great building. It's got a great historical value to the town. I went to school there many years ago, and I think the vision for it, right, if it could be some sort of combination of an arts and recreational center, is great to have in the center of town, very accessible to everybody. I agree with the parking. That would be a very nice feature to have for the people to gain access to the common. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of space to take advantage of, and I'm glad that it's something the town will be able to hold on to and keep the historical value that it's brought to this town.
All right. Mr. Manan, thoughts?
Fully support it. And if I may also add, the board that I'm serving, and in the last 3 years, that has been a big mandate, and we met several times with the committee and geared them towards this. So I'm very excited that this is something we are now looking at as a viable option, and please vote for it so we can steer that. And HCA is a great institution. We'll see a lot of cultural activities should we go that route and the town decides. And it also adds to the economic activity potential in the downtown area. And it also brings the town together like we do with Marathon and other community activities. So I'm very excited, and I think it's a right solution for Center School that we can offer through these combination of cultural activities and some town capacity management in terms of space that will bring a solution to this problem. And I've been highlighting this problem quite some time, not only because of the lack of because of the fear of losing a historic site, but also it does cost quite a bit to maintain that. And we have probably lost, potentially north of $1 million maintaining it for so long. So I can't wait to solve it. That was my commitment in my first term, and I'm glad that we are very close to that.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. Mr. Manan, this is a question for you. As a candidate running for re-election for your second term on the select board, what do you feel your biggest accomplishment was during your first term while on the board?
Great question. So I think, first of all, it's a board of 5 people, so it's not only me. It's always my colleagues and everyone together. But I have advocated strongly for fiscal discipline, which I believe we have established through the difficult times, and at the same time delivered high-quality services, focused on the problems. We have solved the school capacity problem, which was big when I started, even though with little pain. But it is something that is, in our view, is mandatory for solving and continuing our excellence. I have also worked on solving the water problems, and as I mentioned earlier, with my colleagues, we solved the well 6 problem, but also put out my strategic hat and looked at the MWRA versus long-term solution, establishing the advisory. I'm also looking at long-term economic development. That's another area that I'm passionate about, and I believe with the Economic Development Office that I helped set up, now it's going to be sowing the seeds and harvesting in the future. So a lot of the strategic things that I have focused on, I'm proud of with my colleagues, and a lot of tactical problems, execution problems we have solved throughout. Our police and administration had retention problem, leadership challenges or gaps, and we have solved that. We have hired the town manager, the deputy police chief, the fire chief, and many leadership, and I'm very comfortable. Now we are in a more stable town government and full capacity school, full capacity police and fire, and that's all combination of what I think my service accomplishment is.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kisner, in your candidate statement, you state, quote, "We must take significant steps to support businesses of all sizes, diversify our revenue, and make major decisions on infrastructure investments while also addressing the rising cost of living for residents of all ages." Can you expand on this more, and what are some of your ideas about this?
But I don't know who wrote that, but I like how it sounded, and I think it gets to the heart of what's really going on and important here. So I'm not going to pretend that I have all of the answers to these things. In terms of supporting business development, large and small, look, folks, I talked about the fact that 85% of the town budget comes right out of your pocketbook from your property taxes. We need to find a way to grow commercial in town, whether that's more coffee shops in Main Street, whether that's more robust commercial development in South Street, whether that's something I haven't even considered that yet. To Vice Chair Manon's point, that's exactly why we're thinking about having economic development so that those SMEs can give us that information. When I think as well about diversifying revenue streams, this is where I want to start to get really creative about some of those commercial opportunities. Talking to our friends and partners in the Chamber of Commerce. I think about some of the businesses in town like Startline. Those are success stories for us. Those are local homegrown businesses that are drawing people to the community and show the faith and the support that we will give. We shop and we eat local because it's important to us. How can we find ways to incentivize more of that growth in town? Ultimately, it's not going to be one person who solves this. Partnering together on how we can come up with new solutions to these challenges, but acknowledging that they are challenges, that they are things that we want to work on together and that we need to have a new approach. That's what I think starts to move us in a new direction.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Doyle, an article on hopnews.com stated that, quote, "Doyle urges the community to consider a longer-term outlook for seniors, future residents, and families with school-age children." First off, would you describe that statement as accurate? And if so, could you expand further on this?
Yeah, that came from a conversation with Hop News at Starbucks. In general, right on track there. But the focus on it is right, is, hey, there's quite a few financial challenges that the town faces, right? There's seniors that feel like they're getting priced out of town. I think the town took an effort to address that challenge last year, and that's now sitting with the state, and we're all hopeful that that'll move forward so that we can have relief for our seniors. There's challenges of significant turnover when somebody graduates from the school and all of a sudden somebody moves out, new family moves in, and that's what's been overwhelming our school for the long run. And ultimately that leads to needing more and more services in town, right? The goal of this is just to figure out a right path and direction, work with our experts in town to figure out how we can address these financial challenges and make sure that we are on the right path moving forward.
Okay. All right, so the last three questions were individual questions. Was there any topic that was touched on that anyone wanted to add anything to? Oop. I guess the bell wanted to add something. All right.
But I can just touch on that, just to give some idea on examples, that as we look at the vision for the town, not only managing the budget, managing our growth, and managing our character while we are looking at economic development is important, but there are some also smaller problems that we are looming and we need to address. For example, affordable housing is a big one. So our affordable housing is right now at 10.7%, and 10% is the threshold. If we go below that, our zoning laws goes out of the door. We don't want that. Our seniors are growing in the next 3-5 years about 40%. So there will be pressure and new pressure in our senior centers. So some of these are looming, and I want to make sure that we have those on radar, and that's my approach. It's always a balanced approach. School is a big part of our town's asset, I have always supported it, will continue to support it, but at the same time, managing all the other looming challenges in a balanced way is what I bring to the table.
Okay. All right, I think we're ready to move on. This is a yes or no question, and maybe the most important question of the debate. Will the Boston Celtics win the NBA championship? Mr. Kisner.
Oh, yes, I bleed green. Please come back to me. Let's talk so much more about this.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes.
Mr. Mon?
Yes, of course.
All right, you all said yes. You all passed.
Oh, God, I love this.
All right, we're now going to give each candidate 2 minutes for a closing statement. We'll start with Mr. Doyle.
Thank you. Hopkinton's very fortunate to have 3 great options for select board this year, in my opinion. I'm the youngest candidate on the stage with the least political experience. In my view, I don't view this as a political position, but I view this as public service. So living in Hopkinton for about 25 years, I bring the most experience from a Hopkinton perspective. I've attended our schools, played in our sports programs, supported our local charities, had an Italian sub from Collella's, and seen how the town has changed over the years. I spent my college career studying finance and accounting at Bentley University. I worked at Perkin-Elmer on 68 Elm Street, on 68 Elm Street in finance in 2014. When we had the capacity from the businesses at Elm Street and in addition to EMC, it was great to see our local restaurants like Dynasty and Bill's thriving, which is just one reason to focus on attracting great businesses back to town. I ultimately shifted my career to focus on cybersecurity sales to startups. To succeed in a startup, you need to be an incredibly hard worker and have the ability to adapt quickly. Within cybersecurity, I've worked for companies focused on 4 different disciplines. Each shift has led to a significant learning curve, which will help if I'm elected to serve the town of Hopkinton. My family's been here since my great-grandfather. I will be here as long as I live, and I hope my children will be here for much longer. For anyone watching in the audience that went to Hopkinton High School, you might have had my grandfather as your math teacher. I'll never be able to have the impact he did on this town that led to him having a gym named after him, but I'd like to do the best I can and keep his legacy alive. I'm running as the candidate that has an eye on what made Hopkinton such a great town, that made so many people want to move here, and wants to make sure we keep that charm as we grow into our next chapter. I have no affiliations except for being a Hiller for life, and that is why I hope you elect me to serve this town.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Manon?
Thank you, Tom, HCAM, and everyone for giving us this opportunity and for being here, for caring about the future of Hopkinton. Over my past term, along with other members, we have taken real steps forward, from launching major infrastructure projects and securing state grants, to supporting clean water efforts, stabilizing leadership across town departments, and making Hopkinton more inclusive and economically resilient. But the work isn't done. As we face tax pressure, growth challenges, and a rising senior population, we need experienced, thoughtful leadership at the table. I'll continue pushing for sustainable development strong public services, and solutions that reflect our community's diverse needs. Hopkinton is growing, and growth brings both promise and responsibility. It's not just about new buildings or roadways, it's about people. Seniors who want to age in place, families trying to raise children in great schools, teachers, firefighters, police, small business owners, we all rely on a town that listens and plans wisely. But good governance takes continuity and commitment. I believe I have brought steady leadership during uncertain and difficult times, and I'd be honored to continue that work with you and for you. I have never taken your trust for granted, and I'll continue to serve with transparency, dedication, and an open door. I believe in One Hopkinton, a town where we look out for each other, grow smartly, and build a future we can all be proud of. I humbly ask for your vote on May 19 to continue to give me the opportunity to serve and building that future together. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kisner, 2 minutes for a closing statement.
I think one of the best things about speaking from your heart is you rarely need notes. So first, thank you to HCAM and to Tom for hosting this, and I'd like to begin my closing remarks by thanking the most important person in my life, my wife Emma, for taking care of putting the kids to bed tonight without my help. I am once again sorry. And to my son Oliver, please ask for a sneaky treat, but it's definitely bedtime. I hope you've heard tonight a vision for what growth, sustainability, and affordability can look like in Hopkinton. I hope you've seen someone who shows you a strategic personality, someone who's looking at both the near term and the bigger picture. Someone who's 20 years of experience in leadership in biopharmaceutical is used to having to work across groups and interests to find common ground to get things done. Does that sound like the sort of collaborative, community-focused approach that you're hoping someone will take to running your town and serving you in government? Because that's exactly what I want to bring here. It has been my absolute privilege for the last almost decade to serve this town, both in zoning advisory and in capital improvement. During that time, I have gotten to work with a number of excellent people, including Vice Chairman An, across town government, and I have learned so much more about the nuances of capital accounts, stabilization, and free cash. Totally misnomer, folks. It's your money. It's not free, but free cash and what it means. All of this is to say, I think I bring experience while bringing a new perspective, energy, and set of ideas. My name is Matthew Kisner, and I chose this town because I believe it is special. I could have gone anywhere. I came to this place for the same reason so many of you who didn't have the fortune like Jeff to be here and be born here did. Because there's something special about this place. You don't need me to tell you. You can see it. You know it. It's why your family lives here. It's why my family lives here. That's why I want to serve. That's why I love this town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That is going to conclude tonight's Select Board debate. A big thank you to our 3 candidates for participating, and also a big thank you to the HCAM team for broadcasting tonight's debate. We wish all 3 candidates the very best of luck in this year's town election, and we thank you all for your willingness and efforts to serve the community. We remind you to vote in this year's annual town election on Monday, May 19th at Hopkinton Middle School. Polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Also, Hopkinton's annual town meeting takes place starting next Monday, May 5th, 7 p.m. at Hopkinton Middle School. Please attend and have your voice heard on what happens in your community. For everyone here at HCAM, I'm Tom Nappy. Have a great night, everyone. Good job, guys.